What's up, guys? So we are back in the shop. It is now Friday. Had a lot of stuff going on this past week. Didn't get a chance to film anything. And we're now getting into some bad weather this weekend. Sorry for the stuttering. But we're getting into some bad weather. So what perfect time to pull Tina in and get some work on her and keep her in the dry. So we're going to go ahead and pull this front clip off and do my square tubing idea to mount this front clip. And the way that I'm doing this is I basically just took my tape measure and measured all the way down to the floor right here up to the fender right here. And I also measured it back here up to the fender from the floor. So what we're going to do is pull the fender off now, and I have my solid measurement from the floor up. I'm going to cut my square tubing and then lay my square tubing in there. We're going to notch this box out for the square tubing to sit in. We're going to cut the square tubing to where once it's in there and welded and we put the fender on, this fender mount right here, this fender mount sheet will sit directly on top of the square tubing, and we'll just drill holes and tap the holes for the fender bolts to go into. And the square tubing is going to run all the way out to these holes right here to help us mount the front grill shroud. So that is the plan. I'll probably end up, like I said, I wanted to run that square tubing through that box and all the way to the door jamb. But with the way that this fender mount tab is on the inside here, it mounts to that box. So I'll probably notch into the box, but not go all the way to the door jamb. And then just take another piece of square tubing and go from the door jamb right here. Get this camera straight here. Go from the door jamb right here up here at an angle to the square tubing from the bottom, and kind of give it an extra brace support. Have up here and down there, and then they come together about right here. And then that square tubing runs all the way out here. I think that is the best structural way to do this and still look clean in the engine bay and have plenty of room. So, and like I got to thinking about this, if I do it this way, I'm not blocking up my cowl right here. So I'll be able to get the cowl mount hood hinges and be able to hinge the hood properly and not run into issues with that. Because if we did it the way that I originally talked about doing it and leaving the 6.0 fender structure up here, that fender structure would have tied in up here, and then we would have had to have figured something else out for the hood hinges. So I think this is the best option to do this in. We have it about center on the frame rails on both sides. You see the factory 6.0 weld seam right here. We're just a little bit past it on both sides. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to set you guys up and get at it. Let's go. All right, guys, got everything trimmed out. Got our square tubing cut to slide into here and get it notched into the cab. Check it out, it's working pretty good. So I did end up trimming out quite a bit through the center here and made it a lot more flimsy. You can move it just about everywhere now and push it. But once we get our square tubing notched into here and set all the way across there and then welded to here, I'm gonna go through and tack it where I can to this sheet, and I'm gonna weld the sheet along the bottom to the tubing as well. So that'll help brace it a little bit more. And then whenever we get, like afterwards, once all the square tubing's in here, we'll have a plate that sits right here and welds the cab to the 6.0 over to the square tubing and everything too. And then once all that's done, we'll have a piece of angle iron that goes from the top of the sheet and comes out like an inch, and then it comes down to the square tubing and welds to the square tubing to secure the top of this sheet metal to the square tubing and get it all structurized and get it to where we can pull all the body mounts, disconnect everything, and pick this cab up like it was intended to from a Super Duty. That is my plan. I want to keep it as much Super Duty as possible. So we're gonna put this square tubing in here, and I also have another idea of taking some more square tubing and going from this door jamb about right here upward at an angle. Might have to notch out the box right here, but we're gonna go upward at an angle to this piece and tie into this piece to just give it that extra support for whenever it's picking up. It can rely on that bottom piece too. So I'm gonna set you guys back up. I'm gonna get it all tacked in place and start welding it out. Let's go. All right, got the fender set up on here. I was kind of scared because I started welding it out before I ever tried the fender on. So I really committed to my measurements. But it fits. Check it out. So we got our square tubing stuck up on there, and the fender just sits right down on top of that. And I'm just gonna drill holes into the square tubing to bolt the fender in all the way down through here. This is, I'll be able to get a bolt in this hole. This one here just bolts the grill shroud to the fender, but there's plenty enough support on the fender on the square tubing itself to hold all this. So I'm not gonna worry about this one or this one, I don't think, because I'd still wanna be able to have enough room to reach my hand down in here and get to my headlight wiring and stuff whenever I want to. I ran out of welding wire and I ran out of diesel fuel in the heater. So I got a steak in the fridge calling my name. I'm gonna call it a night. Go get some materials and stuff tomorrow. Get back at it. Let's go. All right, guys, we are back in the shop. I went to town, got my welding wire, checked the prices on those things, and it was like $20 for a 2-pound roll, a 2-pound spool of welding wire, and it was $50 for a 10-pound roll. My welder isn't set up to take a 10-pound roll, but I could not justify buying 4 2-pound spools to get 8 pounds of wire for $80 versus spending $50 on a 10-pound spool. So I'm gonna set the camera up and we're gonna see what we can rig up to make a 10-pound spool work on my welder. Let's go. I'll show you what we're dealing with here. So my welder takes these small little 2-pound spools, and you take this nut off right here. Get it off of here real quick. You take the nut off. Like that's the shaft that I got. Well, the 10-pound spool is much larger. Get it out of the box. It's a much larger hole. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is basically take one of these 2-pound spools and cut the sides off of it and put this plastic center in there. And I honestly think it's gonna work. We're gonna try it out. We're here for it. Let's go. All right, guys, I really thought I was gonna have to put more time into that, but it literally freaking works. I took this roll right here and broke the sides off of it. Just grabbed them and pulled them, and they broke right off and came to that right there. And look at this. It pops right into that with no slop. So I do think I am going to take some electrical tape and kind of run it around this edge right here, just to give us a little bit more pressure so that it doesn't spin. But that's perfect. Like, that freaking works. How about that? We just adapted it, just like that. This entire time, I've been spending $20 a piece on these spools. I could have been buying a 10-pound spool for 50. That is nuts. Let's go. I'm so stoked about that. I can't believe it worked. Literally just a random thought, and it works flawlessly. That's awesome. All right, so check it out. I got her wrapped up in electrical tape, and we got it to be a nice, tight, snug fit now. Like, I gotta tap it in with the old clammer. But that freaking works. How about that? How about them apples right there? Centered perfectly. It works. We're rolling with it. I am ecstatic. That is awesome. Let's freaking go. Oh guys, it freaking works. It's all set up in there and ran through. That is awesome. I have went so long running on 2-pound spools, spending the money for 2-pound spools, whenever I could have just freaking made my own little adapter like this. This is gonna be so much better. It's gonna last me so much longer on 10-pound spools. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I waited this long to even try. It's nuts. Let's go. Let's get some work done. All right, guys, we're gonna get back at it now. We got our welder swapped over. I do have a new idea and a new plan for this. So, instead of using angle iron and coming up off of the square tubing, like right here, and then coming over to this sheet and welding it to this sheet, and then just having like a lip sticking up all the way down through here, I'm going to take the battery out. I'm gonna cut like right here, cut this off, and then cut this about right here, take all this off, bend this top core support down to the square tubing, and then cut this entire sheet flush with the top of the square tubing all the way down through here. And then we're just gonna take some clamps, squeeze the sheet to the square tubing and weld it to the square tubing all the way down through there. Completely do away with the angle iron down through there idea. I don't like that anymore. We're gonna do this. So we're gonna get you guys set up on time lapse and get diving into it, pull that fender back off, start getting all this welded back out and solid. Let's get after it. Alright guys, got her all welded up and it's sanded out. And it looks freaking clean. Look at how good this looks now. Got our square tubing in there. It's welded all the way around the core support. Right here in this area. And then welded all the way across the top of the sheet. Welded and sanded out. So now all we gotta do is just drill holes in our square tubing to put our bolts into. And we're just gonna tap the square tubing for the bolts. That is perfect. I am so happy with that. So happy I chose to go that route and not do like a bunch of weird angle iron up here on the top. It looks so clean. Now I just gotta take the time and make this side match. Very happy with that though. I'm gonna have to disconnect all the wires and everything off the side of that wall, lay some paint in there and make it all nice and satin black. That's awesome. I'm so happy with that. I do have this little spot right here with welds that I would like to get cleaned up and smoothed out. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull the fender back off, put some Taxt right here on these little divots, and then lay a thicker bead in here, see if we can get it all smoothed out with the die grinder. I want it to be I want that to be a smooth, clean, rolled transition. So I'm gonna mess around with this little spot right here, and we'll see what we can do with it. All right, we got her all painted up. Got those divots cleaned out right there. My paint's still drying, so I'm trying not to touch it too much, but it's looking really nice and clean in there. Still need to get some paint down in there and get all that red stuff blacked up. But I think while I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and add another gusset down here. And I had this quarter wall tubing over against the wall. And I think what I'm gonna do, I don't think that's not quarter. I don't know, that's pretty thick though. I think what I'm gonna do is run it at an angle from the bottom of this door jamb right here up to the square tubing, just about like that. Just to give it an extra support for whenever it's picking that whole core support and everything up, whenever we pick the cab up off the frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean these surfaces up, clean this surface up, notch this tube, and get it angled and fitted up in there so I can weld it. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and then basically I gotta move on to the next side. Actually, we'll probably do the next, you guys will probably see the next side in the next video. I've been working on this too. We have the spindles and everything all together, but whenever we ordered all new wheel bearings, just like the rear, they seem to have only sent us inner wheel bearings for these hubs. So we don't have the outer wheel bearing that's got the smaller diameter for the spindle shaft. So I'm gonna have to go to the parts store this evening, grab some wheel bearings for that so I can get the hubs on, get this front end back together, and then put some wheels and tires on it. So I'll probably finish up this side and then pause on this project and move back over to that one this evening. But we're gonna go ahead and get that brace in there and then go from there. Let's go. All right, we still gotta lay some paint on it, but as you've seen, we got her all slicked out, sanded out, and looking pretty on the top side here. And I went ahead and put this gusset from the bottom of the door jamb up here to the tubing, just to give it a little bit of extra support whenever you're picking that cab up. There's a lot of weight that hangs out here. So I wanted to gusset it, but all this is gonna be hidden behind the fender. And I'm so stoked, honestly. Like it came together very nicely. I didn't picture it coming together this clean. Like I originally thought I was gonna have to run that angle iron down through here, but we was able to get it all trimmed down and welded flush with the tubing. So it's gonna be completely flat now and look perfect. Let's go ahead and get this fender on there and slap it all back up there and see how it looks. Let's go. That is literally perfect. Look at this. Look at how clean it looks in here. All the way down through there. We'll just have our bolts in there and then it'll just roll straight down to the Super Duty. That is awesome. I'm so happy we didn't end up doing that angle iron idea and having like a lip all the way down through there. It would have been stupid. This was such a better route to go. And we got our gusset up in there, completely hidden by the fender. Like That is awesome. So happy with that. Let's go. We're gonna go get some freaking wheel bearings for this thing and move over to this thing now. Try to get some more progress made on that and get it on some wheels and tires tonight. But old Tina is coming around looking freaking slick. Like, this is gonna be something that I'm proud to pop the hood on at a truck show. That's awesome. Let's go. All right, guys. Passenger side's all done and complete. It's not mounted yet. I still got to drill the holes for the bolts and put the bolts in the fender, completely mount the fender up. But that side's complete as far as fabrication goes. I'm going to go ahead, head to town, and get the wheel bearings for, where's that? Get the wheel bearings for the 66 Ford. And we'll come back out here, cook me up a steak, get to work getting these front hubs back on here. Try to get the steering on as well. And then I got some wheels and tires to put on here for rollers. So I'm gonna try to get all that stuff buttoned back up, get this thing sitting down on some wheels and tires tonight. Let's go. All right, we're back at the shop. I done went and got the wheel bearings for this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys up. I'm gonna wipe down the axles and put another coat of paint on those before I run the brake lines. But I am gonna go ahead and do that first, so then I can finish the rear end up. We're gonna go ahead and put the disc brake kit on the driver's side over there, and then go ahead and wipe the axle down, give her a new coat of paint, try and get it to shine up a little bit more, because the axles themselves, just the axle tubes, look a lot more flat black than the rest of everything else that I've painted. So I'm gonna try to see if another coat of paint will fix that out, kind of make it a little better on my eyes. The customer doesn't care, but I don't like it. So I'm gonna see if I can get it to gloss up a little bit better to match everything else. But once I get that done, get the axle dry, I'm gonna run the brake lines on there and get the rear end finished. Then we'll move to the front, get the hubs together. Roll on. Let's go. All right, guys, I got the axles coated down. We got the disc brake kit on the driver's side. I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys up. We're gonna get these front hubs on. It's gonna be very greasy, so I'm just gonna time lapse it. Wear rubber gloves. I hate grease. I hate anything with oil. But it's gotta be done, so. I'm gonna get these wheel bearings greased up, get the hub stuck on here. This part done. Let's go. All right, guys, it's a little after midnight. Got everything knocked out that I wanted to do, for the most part. We are completely together on the disc brake kit. We got our axles painted up, got our front hubs back together, got our brakes on, got our new wheel bearings in, got our new tie rods and drag link in there. This is all pretty much ready for brake lines on the axles, and then I have to get new lockouts for it because the old lockouts are junk. But we're at a standstill with that. We've got to order some more parts, and then we also got Otina mounted up and looking nice on this side over here. Super happy with the way that turned out. But you guys have to tune in next week to see me mount this side. I'm gonna try to get this side mounted identical to that side over there. We'll see how it plans out. I might have a little bit more of a shelf here from the fender to the roll of the square tubing going down the side of the wall of this Super Duty. But that's it for this one, guys. Stay tuned for next week's video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend, support the channel. Let's continue to grow. Get at it. Let's go. See y'all next week.